I always remember him calling me, and I lived here in Netherthong, and for him it was the middle of the day, and for me it was the middle of the night. And he called me and he said, "Mum, I've got motor neurone disease." My name is Jude, and I'm Jody's mum. He died 4 years ago now, 4.5 years ago, of motor neurone disease, the most evil disease that there is. And since Jody died, I have felt a great passion to actually raise money for various charities. I've fundraised for the local hospice, for the local research unit, and now Leeds Hospital Charities, because I'm so passionate about the Rob Burrow Centre. Jody kept it all very quiet to me, and he'd started getting weakness in his right arm and right hand, and he thought he got RSA, which is repetitive strain. And then he noticed that he was starting to get a bit of drag of his foot, and that was really worrying him. And I think at that point he decided to go and see his doctor, and he said, "Oh, it's probably just muscular, you'll be fine." And then he went back about a month later, it appears, and said, "I'm starting to slur my speech. I feel as I'm a little bit drunk, so I've got a lisp." And we do have a bit of a lisp in our family. And so he went back to the GP, and he referred him to the neurologist in Sydney, and they were fairly rapid. Within 3 months, Jody had his diagnosis. And so I always remember him calling me, and I lived here in Netherthong, and for him it was the middle of the day, and for me it was the middle of the night. And he called me and he said, "Mum, I've got motor neurone disease." I remember at the time, I was standing behind this sofa, and behind the sofa was the Hoover, and I actually kicked. I was so angry, I was so frustrated. I thought, why my son? And I actually broke the Hoover. I look back now and I laugh. Very rapidly, his speech disappeared and his swallow. He was choking on food, and he'd been diagnosed in July, and by sort of January, February, he was losing weight rapidly. So when I saw him in November, he was around just under 70 kilos. He'd already lost weight. But by the time that he came home in June, he lost 20 kilos because he could no longer swallow. The GP made a referral, so we had the OT out here. And Helen became really part of our family. Jody loved her. She was smashing. Helen Ahmad. And I mention her name because she was amazing. We had a nutritionist out, Helen Berry. We had a physiotherapist. But everything was coming at different times. And we found that everything was quite slow, not from their point, but from the system. And when I heard about the Rob Burrow MND Centre, it was just like a gift from heaven, because I really felt if only that had been there for Jody, it had only been there for me, it had been there for his two sisters. If only that had been there 4 or 5 years ago, it would have made a huge difference to our lives, where we could have gone to one place and not gone there for this, there for that. The actual process of getting someone into a wheelchair, of getting there, make sure they're having their feed or it's running, and making sure it's switched off, and you've got all the cleansing to come with, and then you've got a battery that's going to last long enough for traffic jams to take them. And so everything was hard work, and my GPs were just amazing. Dr. Shamsi, Dr. Shutt, Dr. Ward, just fantastic surgery. And Jody did eventually die at home. would have had the Rob Burrow, we would have been able to go there. Jody would have had accessibility to maybe have respite and enjoy, actually be able to move around, because we were in a very small council adapted flat, because I had to leave my house when Jody came home because he was trapped upstairs, because I lived in a sort of townhouse. So I felt that even in the council adapted flat we had here, there were restrictions of coming out a door and unhooking a door, and trying to turn left and you couldn't get into the bathroom. So it was an adapted flat rather than purpose built. And I think Jody just missed that opportunity to be moving around very easily in his wheelchair. And I think he would have had Rob Burrow, I'd have had the support that was needed earlier, perhaps recognised my potential PTSD. And even though I had support from the hospice, I still felt that understanding of what MND is and how distressing it is, and to know that everyone would have been there and the MND specialist nurses would know all about the breathing machine, because he wouldn't let anyone else put on his mask but me and Anna, who was our full-time personal, 36 hours a week. She's a fabulous girl. She's almost like a daughter to me and best mate to Jody. And she could do it and I could do it, but he wouldn't let anyone else put his mask on. But I think he would have had MND specialist nurses. They would have understood the distress of leakage around here, or it not fitting properly underneath. There were so many things that were just really like a fine art. So I encourage anyone to do whatever they are, whether it's picking apples or going and doing anything. They don't have to go up Ben Nevis. I will do, even if I have to crawl.